Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. In this presentation, I would like to briefly explain that Nursi's criticism on the great philosophers of Islamic history, Farabi and Ibn Sina, as parallel with the criticism that Ghazali made much before than Nursi. However, together with Nursi's mutual point of criticism on them with Ghazali, I want to more focus on his separate approach and methodology from Ghazali in his criticism at the end, inshallah. Through this, I would like to attract the attention to the mode of positive action that Nursi adopts, even the intellectual sphere of his life. I believe the ethics of criticism that he applied perfectly fits with his principle of positive action. In his book Tahafutul Falasife, Ghazali, much before than Nursi, criticizes famous Greek philosophers because of their heretical way of thinking, which is not in the same direction with the divine revelation. I want to repeat this sentence. In his book Tahafutul Falasife, Ghazali, much before than Nursi, criticizes famous Greek philosophers because of their heretical way of thinking, which is not in the same direction with the divine revelation. He says at the beginning, because Farabi and Ibn Sina are among the most faithful translators and the commentators of Aristotle, he confines his attention to what these two have taken to be the authentic expression of the views of their misleaders. Ghazali believes that these two philosophers refused to be content with the religion followed by their ancestors. They flattered themselves with the idea that it would be honor not to accept even the truth uncritically. Nursi also criticizes Farabi and Ibn Sina together with the famous Greek philosophers Aristotle and Plato. Because of their full engagement with the second type of philosophy, which he describes as not in the same direction with the line of the prophets, just like the Ghazali made. In the Book of the Words, he mentions an imaginary journey of him. He talks about two different lands and a tunnel-like cave between them. While he is commenting his journey at the end, he says, between in the tunnel, which opens the way of exit from the land of the second type of philosophy to the land of the truth, he says, he could reach to the other side, while as the followers of Aristotle and Plato, namely Ibn Sina and Farabi, who were trying to open the way to the truth through the second type of philosophical argumentations, submerged in the tunnel and couldn't reach to the land of truth. I think all of you remember this journey of him in the words. In this point, Nursi asks himself an important question which can be possibly asked by the readers, and then he answers himself. He says, I'm directly quoting from him, if you say, who do you think you are to challenge these famous philosophers? You are like a mere fly, and yet you meddle in the flight of eagles. I would reply, while having a pre-eternal teacher like the Quran, in matters concerning truth and the knowledge of God, I don't have to attach as much value as that of a fly's wing to those eagles, who are the students of misguided philosophy and deluded intellect. However inferior I am to them, their teacher is 1,000 times more inferior than mine. However inferior I am to them, their teacher is 1,000 times more inferior than mine. With the help of my teacher, whatever caused them to become submerged did not so much as dampen my toes. An insignificant private who acts in accordance with the laws and commands of a great king is able to achieve more than a great field marshal of an insignificant king. Very obviously, it is understood he doesn't compare himself and them, but rather he compares his teacher and their teachers concerning the reaching to the way of truth. I think the reason of this lays in the philosophy aims to encourage the people to think and make arguments through their own reasoning and process of thinking without taking the divine knowledge or the revelation into the consideration. I think this is really important because this is what Ghazali and Nursi, meets. Yeah, this is one of the mutual points of them, especially in interpretation of the philosophy and their approaches to the philosophers, especially Ibn Sina and Farabi. So, in this sense, while the teacher of the philosophers can be accounted as their intellect, the teacher of the philosophers can be accounted as their intellect, the teacher of Nursi that he talks about here is the one who takes merely Quran as a source of reference in his second period of life, is Quran itself. So, as we see until here, Ghazali and Nursi concern the same problematic issues in their criticism on Farabi and Ibn Sina. Even though they have this kind of mutual point of criticizing, these two philosophers, actually their approaches are not the same on their criticisms. I think the most attractive dimension here is Nursi's way of criticizing. While Ghazali criticizes them in a very harsh and detailed way, Nursi prefers to make his criticism with a much softer way without detailing their issues. Because while Ghazali uses the word of heretics of our time, for these two philosophers especially, very harshly, and describes their fault points in his book, Tahafud al-Falasifa, Nursi prefers to say, it is because of these rotten foundations and disastrous results of philosophy that geniuses from among the Muslim philosophers, like Ibn Sina and Farabi, were charmed by its apparent glitter and were deceived into taking this way, and thus attained only the rank of an ordinary believer. Hujjatul Islam al-Ghazali did not accord them that rank even. So that's the quotation from Nursi directly. Therefore, I think this shows us Said Nursi, even from the perspective of knowledge, prefers to act positively. That is, even in the arena of the knowledge, he does not give up his principle of positive action. Thank you.